Women challenged to rise in politics. 10-day military exercise continues. And park keepers celebrate. Good evening and thanks for joining us for Sunday's news. The death of one of the first female politicians, Nahau Rooney, must not be in vain. Reflecting on Rooney's achievements, the PNG Women in Politics say more women must rise up to that challenge, be bold and prepare for the 2022 national and local level government elections. President of the PNG Women in Politics, Mrs. Maria Hayes, encourages aspiring women politicians to stand up now and prepare for the 2022 national and local level government elections. The PNG Women in Politics made this call following the death of Mrs. Nahau Rooney, the first woman national politician to be appointed as cabinet minister after the country's independence. Mrs. Hayes said Nahau Rooney's contributions to the political development of this country, both in and out of parliament, and her role in various government boards and non-governmental bodies has seen an invaluable contribution to the development of our country.
She was not just a parliamentarian. She's achieved so much for this country as a whole, and as for us women, she has actually played a big role in becoming a woman that stands up against all odds.
Women in Politics want to see Nahau Rooney's contributions to politics, encouraging other women to rise up.
And that is by calling on young Papua New Guinean women who would like to become decision makers, who want to be politicians. They have to rise up now.
Another member and founder of Women in Politics, Miss Dorothy Tekwe, described Mrs. Rooney as a very intelligent and quiet operator.
Out of active politics, she continued to contribute to getting the system to work by trying to get good women to go into parliament. She has been instrumental in trying to help National Council of Women of Papua New Guinea by being the president for PE Manus for the last 20 years, and at the same time accepting patronship for Women in Politics and trying to push women, young women to become politicians, to become decision makers.
The late Nahau Rooney was the president of the Manus Provincial Council of Women for the last 2 decades. According to Mrs. Hayes, she contributed to the Manus provincial government to make changes to accommodate women in the social, economic and political process for the province, a model the PNG Women in Politics has been pushing for in other provinces too. After the parliament failed to enact changes to the organic law on provincial and local level governments to operationalize the Equality and Participation Bill for Women in 2012, Nahau Rooney dedicated her time to provide advice on various international and national women's strategic plans for future elections. A commitment of 1.75 million kina for 7 schools in the Wasaragawi electorate promised by former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has been honoured by Prime Minister James Marape in a recent visit to East Sepik Province. Education Minister and local MP Joseph Yopiopi says this funding will go towards the building of double classrooms and contractors have already been selected.
Prime Minister James Marape arrived in Wewak and was escorted to Wasaragawi district by local MP Joseph Yopiopi and the Sepik Governor Alan Bird. In Kandige Primary School in the Gawi LLG, Prime Minister James Marape presented a cheque of 1.75 million kina to schools including Chambri Lake, Jamambo and Yambi Yambi primary schools. Other commitments include a 5 million kina investment to build a technical high school in Wasaragawi, and 2 million kina each for schools in Engaram, Maprik, Ambunti, Drakikia, and Wiwek districts. Amongst these commitments, Prime Minister's wife, Rachel Marape, plans to run a feeding program in Kandige Primary to address the issue of stunting.
Milagol pigini milag tog YouTube and work lo make it. Aram talk lo teacher, na aram talk lo parents na you stop. Nogan kage buaya.
Meanwhile, in the Yangaru Sausia district, the District Development Authority has already taken steps to address the issue of stunted growth. The DDA is building a chicken farm that will supply chicken layers to boarding schools in Yangaru Sausia. Locals are growing rice to sell, and the district plans to build a dairy farm to produce milk and ice cream. The idea is to supply locals with a variety of food choices for school-aged children in the hope to improve their learning abilities. While Prime Minister James Marape was visiting villages in Wasaragawi district, the former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill officiated at project launching in schools in Yangaru Sausia. Taklagunga, National EMTV News.
A non-government organization is calling for economic and systematic independence after 45 years. The Mighty Voice of Melanesia says it is time the state rewrite history by moving away from the colonial capitalism introduced back then. Founder Newman Freeman says Papua New Guinea must write its own laws and develop its resources for all to benefit.
Speaking to MTV News, Newman Freeman is optimistic the country's government system is fragmented and is a copy of ideologies of ruling colonial mentality. He shares MVOM's push to write our own laws. Freeman believes if people are the power and most valuable resource, a change after 45 years is the way forward.
We are politically independent, but systematically oppressed and corrupt and economically dependent. When I mean system, it is the system of government that we adopted. We don't have a system of our own, but we adopted a system of government that was existing at that time in England, based on this Western capitalism ideology.
According to research by the Mighty Voice of Melanesia, the fourth arm of government is missing. The founder says the legislature, National Executive Council and judiciary have separate powers, however do not control or guide the economy. Freeman speaks of the fourth arm of government as the economy.
That's where we are proposing and even petitioning and demanding the government to establish the fourth arm of the government, which shall be called the National Autonomous Economic Corporation. And it shall be underpinned by 4 autonomous financial institutions. One, we call it the Melanesian Communal Development Bank, and the other one is People's Unit Trust Fund. These 2 are autonomous financial institutions that should underpin the establishment of the fourth arm of the government. And these 2 arms of government should be communally owned, because Papua New Guinea is a communal society.
So far, the group has petitioned the Somare, O'Neill and now the Marape Basil government. They claim a communal government driven by laws of our own people will drive the country forward to advance. A concept clash between communalism and capitalism.
We have economic crisis, constitutional crisis, leadership crisis, and the law and order coming up. So we believe that the current system has never helped us to benefit in any way. So that's why we want the current system of government to change.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
It's been 10 days since the Papua New Guinea Defence Force Joint Forces Academy's final exercise began. They are currently undergoing stability operations, which is the 3rd phase of exercise Last Chance. Exercise Controller Captain Deg Jokari says the weather has been a great challenge over the past 10 days of this exercise.
These cadets have been tasked to protect the Situm Health Center, the school and the communications tower. These are vital assets that are being protected from attack.
Maintain your flanks.
This is the 3rd phase of the Joint Forces Academy's exercise Last Chance, which started last week.
We've already gone through the defensive,
offensive part of the exercise, and we're into the third phase, which is the stability operations exercise.
Vital Asset Protection, or VAP, is one of the areas that cadets are being tested on under stability operations. While the defensive and offensive operations were carried out in the forest in Situm, the current phase tests their abilities to operate in places where there are civilians present. Following the Vital Asset Protection, they conducted a medevac exercise. Here, their knowledge of the medevac procedures were put to test.
The bleeding has been controlled by the bandage and it should be okay.
They then proceeded to the Buimo prison, transporting high-value targets, which is part of the exercise. While the exercise has progressed, Exercise Controller Captain Deg Jokari says the weather has been a challenge.
Hopefully for the withdrawal phase, we expect at least a fine weather for the cadets to withdraw back to Igan Barracks.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
This is National EMTV News. More stories when we come back. Welcome back to the news. The Port Moresby Nature Park celebrated International Zookeepers Day today in recognition of the valuable contribution zookeepers make to the care and conservation of animals. The Nature Park has 8 wildlife keepers who look after more than 550 animals. They are responsible for feeding, maintaining and cleaning the animals, diet preparation, behavioral observation, record keeping, exhibit maintenance and providing environmental enrichment for the animals in their care. The park is dedicated to inspiring in others the guardianship of PNG's unique natural environment and wildlife, while continuing to develop and enhance the skills of the wildlife team in line with international zookeeping standards. Over 200 women groups in the Port Moresby South electorate are empowered to continue their small to medium business despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Reference letters signed by electorate member Justin Chechenko were given to various incorporated women's groups to assist them get their loans. This comes after the Marape-led government announced a 200 million kina SME assistance through Bank South Pacific and the National Development Bank.
Presidents and executives of over 250 female small to medium enterprises of the Moresby South electorate gathered at the Southside Fitness Center in the nation's capital to receive their reference letters yesterday. The reference letters were signed by Moresby South MP Justin Tachenko to assist the different businesses get their loans.
It's about you having that association that you can now use with the letter of authorization and support that I'm giving you as well. So you can go out and go to the banks and go to the private business sector, go to the governor, go to other NCDC and other government departments and put your proposals towards them as well.
This comes after Prime Minister James Marape assured small to medium enterprises of government support going forward, despite the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the country's economy. The Prime Minister said the government, through its budgetary procedures, will partner and put money into local financial institutions and make it accessible to SMEs to apply as loans to fund their businesses. Moresby South MP went one step further to help prepare the SMEs in his electorate, especially when it comes to loan procedures, so they won't face any problems with the financial institutions.
In the past, such empowerment, such movement have never ever taken place.
It's first of its kind. And every one of you women sitting here and women who are out there have made the biggest difference. Namito big na thank you you all get married.
The women groups have over 20,000 registered members. They also use that time to network and come up with a strategy to work together within their electorate to assist women in getting their SMEs off the ground.
Use your associations to educate them, to make them the future productive part of Moresby South.
Lilian Sopera Kinea, National EMTV News.
And the ATS settlement in the Moresby Northeast electorate has a new supermarket thanks to a local businessman. In light of the government's 200 million kina investment in the SME sector this year, member for Moresby Northeast, John Kaupa, has assured the local businessman that he will help him secure a loan under the credit facility.
After being a tucker box, the new supermarket will save people at the Tufi block in ATS settlement from spending bus fare every day moving to and from the main shopping centres in Port Moresby. Johnson Tanda and his father Tanda Ajaku have gone through the challenging times to complete this project at a cost of 1.5 million kina.
We've been living here probably, I think, almost 7 years. 7 years, and there is no electricity in this area, no road. So probably I spend my own money from, it's probably like 2 kilometers to bring the 3 place. That's not one single place, but 3 place. That's for the whole community. And it's like I'm providing services to the community.
Milo wagam money, milo wagam profit, na milo wagam paim kaba na olar something, and cost project something 1.5 million. So this money hard work.
The community is very appreciative of this project in a remote location away from the main highways. And not only have Tanda and his son Johnson built a supermarket, prior to this they even paid for the connection of electricity to the area and also made it possible for clearing of a road for vehicle access.
We have this privilege that we are going to come in here and shop in here. Instead of going down to Gordon's and elsewhere, spending bus fares, this has been an opportunity.
With the government's investment into the SME sector, responsible MP John Kaupa says he is happy to assist the business project further in helping to secure a loan through the newly established credit facility via National Development Bank and Bank of South Pacific.
It's about bringing service to the doorstep. And as a local member, I want to encourage more people. And as a local member, I want to make road and other services accessible to this new development of supermarket in a corner of ATS. And I would like to see more of those, so that as a member I must provide services like road, power and water to complement those developments.
Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas, medically, Donald Trump is considered to be a high-risk category. His age and weight are counting against him, but his doctors have prescribed a wide range of medicines, including an experimental antibody treatment.
In a presidency full of surprises, the biggest came while Trump was in full campaign mode to keep his job.
You're the worst president America has ever had. You could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood.
A whirlwind week of events. Trump was in 5 states in just 6 days trying to win over voters. So where did he catch it? One possibility is this event last weekend, a ceremony in the Rose Garden to announce his nomination for the Supreme Court.
Amy Coney Barrett very.
Very few people were wearing masks. Some were even hugging. But in the crowd were Utah Senator Mike Lee and University of Notre Dame President John Jenkins, Kellyanne Conway and Melania Trump, who have all just tested positive. The next day, presidential aide Hope Hicks was part of a small team prepping the president for the leaders' debate.
No one was wearing masks in the room when we were prepping the president during that period of time, the group was about 5 or 6 people in total.
On Tuesday, they all travelled to the debate. Despite masks being mandatory, most Trump family members took them off, and the president mocked Joe Biden for regularly wearing one.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
On Wednesday, Hicks boarded Marine One with top White House officials, including Jared Kushner. Later, they all boarded Air Force One and all touched the same handrail as they climbed the stairs. On the way home, Hicks fell sick. She separated herself on board the plane. At 8 p.m. on Thursday night, she tested positive. Trump's officials knew the results, but Trump continued as if nothing had happened, attending a fundraising event at his New Jersey golf club. Trump was then tested twice and delivered a speech from the White House.
I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight.
And just before 1 a.m. in the White House, the lights were on, and he confirmed to the world he and Melania had COVID-19. And with his age and diagnosed as clinically obese, he was at risk.
It's serious. The odds are statistically that he's going to do well, but there's one thing that's predictable about coronavirus, it's that it's unpredictable.
Trump is being treated with a cocktail of drugs, including vitamins, zinc, melatonin, a dose of remdesivir, and an experimental antibody drug, all to fight off a virus that he spent months trying to dismiss, and that is now looming very large in his life.
When we return, we bring you a closer look on the inauguration ceremony of the 4th Autonomous Bougainville Government House. That's next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. In tonight's A Closer Look, we take a look at the inauguration ceremony of the 4th Autonomous Bougainville Government House. This year's election of the members of the House of Representatives is significant as it takes place post-referendum. Prime Minister James Marape led a delegation comprising of diplomatic corps to witness the historic ceremony.
This week, Bougainville the main agenda, as the former Bougainville Revolution Army commander was sworn into the House of Representatives as president. The diplomatic corps, including China, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India and Indonesia in Buka to witness the president swearing in. During and after the crisis, the international community playing key roles. While Australia trained PNG troops, the New Zealand led the Peace Corps. Going forward for Bougainville, President Torama is setting the past aside and welcoming all.
The international community, especially Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Solomon Islands, Fiji, Vanuatu, and the United Nations have been a tremendous value to Bougainville in pacifying the conflict as in helping to rebuild Bougainville. Under my leadership, Bougainville will continue to work with you so that we reach new heights in areas of mutual interest. The door will be open to any members of the international community in general that is interested in helping Bougainville take its place in the international arena.
But there will be no closer partner than PNG in the Solomon Islands. President Torama stating that during his inaugural speech.
The PNG government, Mr. Speaker, to the PNG government. You have caused us immense pain and suffering.
but you have helped us in restoring our lives. You are helping us to rebuild our government systems and institutions. We have reconciled, buried our differences as true Melanesian people. However, a lot more needs to be done in helping our Bougainville people in life to make their lives comfortable.
For the Solomons, they lost their own also during the crisis and after, when restrictions were put in place, cutting off Bougainville from the rest of the world.
Speaker, the government and the people of Solomon Islands deserve a special mention. You have said our times of need, and you have suffered in this course of it. But most importantly, you were the launching pad for peace process, and I, as the new president of Bougainville, accord you my sincere appreciation and look forward to a continued and renewed relationship.
Veteran journalist John Higgins, who covered the crisis and peace process, seeing Bougainville closely attached with PNG even after independence.
But we never left Australia. We're still linked to them in whatever. They began by, supporting us with budgetary aid, then tide aid, and then whatever aid and whatever assistance they could give. Should Bougainville become independent, they might try to go to Japan. They might try to go to the Solomon Islands. They might try and link up to New Zealand and Australia even. But they will still feel obligated to Papua New Guinea, and we likewise will feel obliged to reciprocate that as well. So that link will always be there. And I think whether Bougainville becomes independent or not, we will always have that link. It will always be there, because right now Bougainvilleans are married into Papua New Guinea and vice versa and likewise. So that is not likely to be watered down as two separate countries, no way. But in terms of resource and as a country developing and going forward, it will want to look at other countries to see if they can get a better deal, if the arrangement can be better worked out than between us and them, that kind of thing.
Prime Minister James Marape, who had brought the diplomatic corps along with him as part of his delegation to Buka this week, welcoming them to set up missions in Bougainville. His welcome coming along with the announcement that the PNG government would hand over diplomatic powers to ABG to allow them to engage with whichever country they see fit to partner with.
We will also assist, and we will not stand in the way of our foreign missions to operate in Port Moresby, to have the development officers in Buka so that they too, if they want to assist, they could be welcome to assist in the restoration effort in Bougainville. Is that okay? You like in this law, you less. So me talking about finish now. Look, sawe I'm go back tidy. Now all two government office blow or some in Australia stop finish, New Zealand stop finish. Some like some stop more can come or can help long walk or help him me reconstruction, rebuild him. This blah. Thinking blame me or making Bougainville ready now long go on next phase of Bougainville's life.
The diplomatic corps there to begin relations with Taurama as the talks begin on the way forward to independence. As it is now, no longer a doubt of if Ara will be a new country, but the question is when.
It's not autonomous Bougainville government anymore. It should be Bougainville independence transitional government, some sort of a name that should have, because we've entered the post period. That is why my concern was into the post period plus the monies that they should give, the drawdown of powers with the drawdown. I mean, economically, people of Bougainville can meaningfully participate into growing our own economy.
Towards them delivering in terms of the economic potentials, harvesting from that, restructuring the public service, transplanting law and justice sector back into the island, and make all these little things that will make the island come back to life before we venture into even discussing on the independence issues.
Since Tuesday this week, it has come clear on some of the agendas for the JSB. Bougainville Copper Mine Limited shares transfers, fiscal powers, outstanding restoration grants, public service powers, and the most important, when the region will be politically independent and break away from mainland PNG.
and two hands to work with you and to hear from you. And some commitments I made, I look forward to the first JSB after this fourth Parliament is stitched together and President Torama, your first cabinet is installed. I look forward to the first JSB we will sit to plan out what is the next phase of life after referendum, life after swearing in of the first government after referendum, and how we should work into the future so that we take our people with us and not leaving them behind.
So we'll prepare ourselves instead of just rushing towards and then meeting, but we'll prepare. As soon as we prepare, we have this consultation with Prime Minister and yes.
But what's also new in the public arena but has been lingering whenever the topic of Bougainville is brought up is that the Panguna mine, the center of the crisis that led to the loss of 20,000 Bougainvillean lives and PNG soldiers, may be reopened to assist the autonomous region become economically independent. Torama stating the people will decide if that was to take place.
Under my government, we will have significant target plan for growing our economy. Panguna mine will be a key target, but we will not put all our eggs in one basket. My government has a number of specific large to medium projects, ideas in mining, agriculture, fisheries and tourism that will create employment and generate revenue for Bougainville. Timing on when our people is ready and timing to economically recover Bougainville. We got a lot of issues, agendas to be fulfilled first before the actual timing in its place. But the real time to economically recover Bougainville is now, not tomorrow.
The Aurora member and Minister for Education, Theonel Lamott Bob, stating before Panguna mine should be opened, other aspects of life in Bougainville and its constituents around the copper mines should be considered.
Talk about the real roots of the mining issue, because there are stakeholders, and these stakeholders are well informed and they know what should be done and what is the rightful thing in order so that social justice can really be felt, be sensed by the people. So in that way, people can be relieved in preparation for a new nation, because we can be given the shares. Yes, they can be given down to ABG, but when the communities are not settled, how is harmony going to be guaranteed and that economic prosperity will be ensured?
Meanwhile, Prime Minister James Marape also stating he himself faced issues with the Bougainvilleans in Port Moresby on the issue of Panguna. The Prime Minister now stating the decision was in their hands on what they wanted to do.
Now, Mr. Togimo, let me know, walk for me, you go back to government bill of Bougainville. Government bill of Bougainville, but deal with the resource of Bougainville. Government must be, but deal with the resource of Bougainville. So me like talk sawe long all some brought up me whether all one school or all senior long give me long time independent coming up now. You stop well or help him solve him like crisis for Bougainville. Now something lo Panguna go back now you not gonna ask me keep him back long pot must be stop and me him go back long people here coming.
President Torama confident and ready to build a nation of its own.
Mr. Speaker, to the people of Bougainville, we have finally given an unshakable number to the long-haired dream of our forefathers, our leaders who have gone before us. We owe it to Se Polapun, Se Donatus Mola, Dr. Alexis Sare, Anthony Anogu, Joseph Kabui, Francis Ona, Leo Hanat, Moses Haveni, and many others who at different times of our history added to the foundations of our journey. My government will need your continued support and patience as we walk the journey of securing Bougainville's sovereignty.
Trukai Sports is next. Fidelis will be back with the details. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. Lae City FC have made it into the grand final of the 2019-2020 season of the Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League. Lae City beating Gulf Comara 2-1 in the first semi-final match yesterday.
The first time both
Lae City came in as favourites and the support was overwhelming also for the Lae-based franchise here in Port Moresby. The team was looking for an early start and were gifted a golden opportunity. Abdias Aguirre scoring in the first minute of play.
Yes! Makes it 1!
Gulf Comara using their speed and long passing game almost scoring in the 7th minute.
Might make it 1-1!
Both teams had to work on strategies in defense, which seemed to work well. But Lae's passing was on point, with Obed Bika almost capitalizing.
Pulls the trigger! Obed Bika!
The 1-0 lead showed a tight game at both ends on the field in the first half. The second half saw Lae City fired up, hungry for a win. Captain Emmanuel Simon leading the way with a goal.
Emmanuel Simon's free! Goes for it! Emmanuel Simon!
There was a chance to make it 3-0, but Aguirre's goal was disallowed.
Abdias curls it! Well, all the players are being called back.
Gulf Comara seemed to be losing their touch in the game. Lae City captain Emmanuel Simon on the receiving end.
Sabwa.
But the captain managed to get back on his feet. Gulf Comara did overcome their second half woes, sticking to their usual style of long passing. Rupa Emil too fast for a relaxed Ronald Warrison.
Rupa Emil might make it 2-1!
Gulf Comara was starting to get some momentum going, but was simply out of time.
5 minutes additional time. Balapol in space! Balapol!
Time he came in, the boys dug deep, and if it wasn't for that penalty in the first half, I'm sure we gave these champions a good run for their money.
Lae City coach Bob Morris was impressed with Ecuadorian Aguirre and captain Emmanuel Simon.
I told the boys that we need to score early, just to put pressure on our opposition. So that was my plan. The person that scored a goal, Abdias, I think he got used to the style or the system that we played, very aggressive, and I think he stood out in the game. Otherwise, the captain himself scored a second goal. I think all the team, it was a team effort.
Lae City FC will face Vitias United in next week's Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League Grand Final. Vitias United claimed the second Grand Final spot in the Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League after a penalty shootout against Hekari United. The match ended in a 2-all draw before Vitias won 4-3 in the penalty shootout.
It is do or die today.
Hekari United faced Vitias United in the second semi-final match. Both teams had 2 goalless draws in the regular season against each other, but that statistic was broken in the 7th minute by Ati Kepo.
With the cross, looking for Ati Kepo.
With a grand final spot up for grabs, there was sure to be something spectacular. Hekari's defense was caught off guard when Elliot Foni set one up for Yagi Asasa to equalize.
So, Elliot Foni lays it up. Yagi Asasa, there's the equalizer!
Despite Hekari scoring first, the momentum shifted to Vitias United. Hekari's goalkeeper Dave Tomare was penalized for a handball outside the goal square.
David Tomare is out of his box!
Yagi Asasa taking the lead for Vitias.
Sasa goes direct! It's in!
The game did have some casualties. Elliot Foni stretched out from the field after he was taken down by Ati Kepo. But Hekari managed to equalize. This time Vitias Rodney Talau taking out the other Kepo brother, Kolu Kepo, in the goal area.
Kepo down!
Daniel Joe equalizing the scoreline.
Eyes on the ball, Daniel Joe! Daniel Joe!
With the scores leveled at 2-2, both teams went into extra time. Hekari had an opportunity to take the win, but Gunemba was off target.
Gunemba!
Even Vitias failed to score.
Here's a long-range shot.
With no goals in extra time, both teams went into a penalty shootout. Daniel Joe and Elud Fugre sinked in 2 goals respectively, but Dabinyaba was off target for Hekari. Tomare saved 1, Foster got 1 in, Tomare saved another, but Junior David failed to score. Vitias got 1 in again, Muta got 1 in, Yagi Yasasa got 1 in as well, but Upaiga failed to score. Sigit getting the match winner.
Vitias United Grand Final, here we come!
Vitias 4-3 winners in the penalty shootout.
The game was good on both sides. Hekari and Vitias, we played our part, we played really hard, they played really hard. The game was on a high note and it was really a tough and hard game. And the team that a couple didn't make too much mistakes came out winner.
I play relaxed too. I don't have one pressure, so against your big boys here. Me to go boys no can pressure. I relaxed all by me winning more. So me boys relaxed and blah.
Vitias, the newcomers, making their maiden grand final appearance next week against powerhouse Ley City FC. And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back to Trukai Sports. Australia are on track to record their 19th straight win in one-day cricket with an impressive performance in the opening match of the Rose Bowl series against the White Ferns.
Put into bat, several of the Kiwis made starts, but they lost wickets cheaply and were reeling at 83 for 6. A late 62-run partnership between Maddie Green and Katie Perkins helped the Ferns to 180, and then Amelia Kerr chimed in with some superb fielding.
Got it! Oh, brilliantly taken in the end by Amelia Kerr. And it just seemed to hop on Healy a little bit.
A short time ago, Australia were 151 for 3 in the 30th over.
At the top.
And that story ends Trukai Sports. Charmaine will be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
The weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby, light rain drizzles tonight and fine morning. Daru, windy with occasional rain drizzles tonight, then fine morning. Kerama, light drizzles tonight, then cloudy morning. Alotau, a few showers tonight, then cloudy morning. And Popondetta, a few rain drizzles tonight, then fine morning. In the Momasa region, Ley, some rain drizzles tonight, then fine morning. Medang, partly cloudy tonight with morning light showers. In Wewak, mostly fine, partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. And Vanimo, a few showers, drizzles tonight, then fine morning. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, rain showers, drizzles tonight, then fine, partly cloudy morning. In Kavieng, fine, partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Kokopo and Rabaul, mostly fine, partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Kimbe, mostly fine tonight, then cloudy morning. And in Buka, few showers, drizzles tonight, then fine, partly cloudy morning. And finally, in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, rain drizzles tonight, then morning fog. Goroka and Kundiawa, light rain drizzles tonight, then morning fog. and Mindy and Wabeg, rain showers and drizzles tonight, then morning fog.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Sunday, the 4th of October 2020. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.